Throughout Minecraft's 14 years of existing, it's had a lot of updates throughout that time, but not all of the updates can be created equal. Some are good, some are bad, some are whatever. So in this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 5 best updates I think Minecraft has ever received. The way I'm going to be ranking these updates is based primarily off of how much they actually impact the game and how different the game would be without them, whether that be for better or for worse, or basically just for worse since this is the top 5 best updates. Number 5 on the list is 1.5, also known as the Redstone update. This update released on March 12th, 2013, so it's quite an old update, over 10 years old at this point. So, why did I rank this at number 5? Well, as we all know, Redstone is a pretty major part of the game, and this has added some of the most important Redstone blocks. Basically, this update added the blocks that mostly define Redstone, other than Redstone dust, obviously. The most important of these blocks are the block of Redstone, Hopper, Redstone Comparator, and it also added some other things like quartz, trap chests, and droppers and daylight sensors, which aren't as important, but they're still pretty neat. If you've ever tried to follow any sort of farm tutorial or any sort of complex redstone machine, or even just watch something like Hermitcraft or very technical, high-level Minecraft players, you'll know that these items, especially in my opinion, the hopper, are very, very, very integral to the late stages of the game. Without hoppers and the other items added, how are you supposed to make things like half the farm? Like I just said, like an iron farm, you can't really make. Pretty much anything automated would be impossible without the features that were added in this update. Some of you may be wondering,
Well, if the things added in this update are so important, then how come it's only ranked number 5 and it's not higher?
well, although I was ranking it based off how impactful it is to the game, and it is true that this update added some very impactful things for certain players. I'm gonna be honest, not everyone uses the things added in this update. Like a majority of the Minecraft player base isn't going to be using hoppers or trap chest or redstone comparators. I don't even fully know what a redstone comparator does, to be honest. So although this update was incredibly impactful for a group of players, that group of players isn't exactly big enough for me to rank it any higher than 5. Number 4 on my list is going to be the Caves and Cliffs update. I'm going to be combining part 1 and part 2 because they're just different parts of the same update. So, why do I think Caves and Cliffs is the 4th best update Minecraft has ever received? Well, for one, caving is such a big part of the game. You're going to spend a lot of your early game underground looking for materials, getting bullied by a bunch of zombies, and getting shot into the lava by skeletons. So, an update that makes the underground, where you spend most of your time, more interesting is obviously going to have a lot of impact on the game. Also, even though this is a cave update mostly, it did update the overworld by making the terrain overall more interesting. Although a lot of people think that the 1.18 terrain isn't like as good, they think it's a lot more challenging to get through. Personally, I'd say it's just a skill issue, and it just looks a lot better. And it's really not that big of a deal. It just makes everything look prettier, look more realistic, but not in a way that actually harms the game at all. However, the main thing holding this update back from being ranked higher is that if I'm going to be completely honest, this update was mostly just a facelift without actually adding that much meaningful content. It did make the underground experience a lot better, but it didn't make it any deeper in a sense. Like, the copper and amethyst are very useless compared to the other ores. They're not very useful very much other than like building and tinted glass, which I'm pretty sure most people. Did you even know tinted glass was in the game? I doubt you did. And spy glasses, which if you're playing on Java Edition, you can just use Optifine, which replaces that because it has a zoom feature. The 3rd best update that I'm going to put on this list is Minecraft 1.0. I know some people might say this doesn't count as an update because it was really just the full release of the game, but I'm counting it as an update because the game technically existed before this. So it's just a new version, and even though it's a full version, I still count it as an update. So what did this update add? Well, it added a lot of things that are very, very, very important to the Minecraft experience as a whole now. Among these things, the most important are enchantments, the end, brewing, and hardcore mode. aka the mode that still isn't on Bedrock Edition for some reason, even though it seems really, really easy to add. Now, after hearing what I just said about what it added, I shouldn't even really have to explain why this is an important update. Enchanting, the end, brewing, these are all very late game parts of Minecraft, and without them, you wouldn't really have anything to do after beating the Ender Dragon, or since this added the end, you wouldn't be able to beat the Ender Dragon at all. And although I do think the Ender Dragon fight needs some work, and so does the end as a whole, it really needs a overall like the Nether update. For the time, this was very good. And enchantments are still a very important part of the game that improve the experience a lot, and they give you something to work towards in the end. Now we're in the bottom two. I think the second best update in all of Minecraft history is 1.14, also known as the Village and Pillage update. I think a lot of people can agree that even if not everyone agrees that it's the second best, I'm sure everyone can agree this is at the very least a top 5 update in all of Minecraft history. So let's go over what it added. As the name implies, it's mostly focused on villagers and also pillagers. It overhauled villages completely. They look a lot, well, not a lot different, but they just got a little bit of a facelift now, look less basic. It also added different villager types. It also added villager raids, which in my opinion are pretty fun. And if I'm going to be honest, pillager raids are more fun than any of the boss fights in Minecraft. Especially the Elder Guardian and Ender Dragon. Those fights are not great. It also added a lot of quality of life blocks, such as the grindstone, which allows you to take enchantments off things, the smithing table, which although was useless in the first update it came out, it later was very useful for netherite and armor trimming. Now let's go more in depth on each of the things added. The villager updates were very, very good. They made villagers actually useful now, and I'd go as far as to say that if you're getting into the late game, it's kind of a bad idea not to use villagers because you just be making yourself do unnecessary work. However, this update did do one thing that I think was a bit controversial because a lot of people have differing opinions on this. It made the Totem of Undying not just easier to get, but actually farmable if you really put in the effort. Now, in my opinion, I kind of like how the Totem of Undying is a little bit easier to get, but at the same time, I don't think it should be completely farmable. Like, you shouldn't be able to get stacks and stacks of them by doing absolutely nothing. And now, in my opinion, the best update that Minecraft has ever received is 1.16, also known as the Nether update. Now, this update is basically the whole package. It added update a lot of content, and it added content to something that desperately needed it because it hadn't gotten updated in years. I'm pretty sure the last update that the Nether got before this was 1.3, I think, which added Nether quartz, which isn't very substantial to be honest. So, what did this update add? It added netherite, a whole new tier above diamond, more biomes, the Basalt Delta, Warped Forest, Crimson Forest, and Soul Sand Valley. It added a lot of really good building blocks such as the new wood types, and it also added piglins, which, although they're not used by everyone, they are pretty useful in speedruns and for new players in the Nether. It also added ruined portals, which they're alright. I guess they're pretty useful early game so you can get like a fire aspect sword or something like that. Now the main reason I'm putting this at number 1 isn't just because of the actual content itself, although it is a very big part. The main reason is that the Nether was so boring before. Anyone who played Minecraft and went to the Nether before this update came out, you will know how boring it used to be. It was just the same thing for miles and miles and miles and miles. There wasn't any. The only reason you went there is because you had to. You never enjoyed it. The terrain was not fun to go through, and all there were like the occasional Nether fortress, which had blazes and wither skeletons, which is cool, I guess. But other than that, the Nether was absolutely terrible. Let me know if you agree with my picks, and if you don't, leave your suggestions in the comments. And until next time, see you guys later.